Hey, what's up, Patriots? It's August 20th, 2025. We are on our way to the golden age, and a lot has been going on. So I think we should get together and talk about it midweek this week, instead of waiting all week for having so much material that I can't fit it all in an hour and a half anymore. We'll try to go about doing this in a shorter format, hopefully. But we've had lots of groundbreaking stuff has happened this week, or last weekend, over the weekend, up until today. It's like Wednesday now, so we got another 3 days here, 2 days to get to the weekend. Hello, Sunkissed. Good to see you, sweetheart. I'm glad you're with us here, modding the channel, keeping the riffraff out, and just staying plugged into our beautiful country and our awesome leadership that we are being shown on a daily basis here, man. I'm doing pretty good, Sunkissed. Been working a little bit here and there, about as much as I want to, and just staying in circulation with the people I love over here. It's pretty cool. And I hope you're doing well too, Sunkissed. Praying for you guys every night, all the Patriots. We all need so many prayers. I was just talking to one of the Patriots just a minute ago, and he's in trouble. He's got to get... he's just getting pulled through the ringer, like all of us feels like have been going through this nightmare scenario over and over since George Bush got elected, the senior George Bush. The madness that's occurring in our country it will drive you insane without God keeping your mind together there. Hi, Jamie Crow and Gene Shannon. How's it going, Gene? Gene, we seen you in Sean's chat at night, going over the news. I'm sure tonight's going to be a good episode on USA tonight with the news broadcasts. If you missed it all during the day and it's 9:30 at night, tune into Sean, and we're just going over broadcasts throughout the day there and trying to get a chat going as long as we can keep the riffraff out. Or just trying to ignore the riffraff. We just block them and ignore them. Let them type whatever they want. I don't know anybody else has to go through this stuff, I'm sure, Benny Johnson and other live streamers got to go through this, but the way we got to go through it really sucks because we just don't know how to get rid of them off of the channels and stuff, man. Jamie Crow, how's it going? There's Sean. What's up, Sean? So let's see. There was a great White House press briefing yesterday with Carolyn Levitt, and at the end of this video, I got most of that recorded, so I'll just close out with that. It's like a 10 or 12 minute thing with the press briefing that she gave there. And I thought it was very important. She just blasted the mainstream media for propagating the people, man. Oh no, Sunkissed. My sister-in-law and my best friend passed away yesterday. Oh my goodness, man. It is not easy here. That's horrible. Rebecca, is that you? Hello. Hi, Barbara Pugliese. Yeah, the weather here has gotten nice and cool. It's so amazing. I'm actually not wearing shorts for the first time in 3 months, it feels like here. It's finally cooled off. Yeah, our condolences, Sunkissed, man. It's horrible. It's all part of this journey, that's for sure. Nobody gets out of here alive, but man, it just seems like when it rains, it pours. And God uses these moments, man. He brings you low. You rely on him to get you through on a minute by minute basis throughout the day. And it's just perplexing. Why does this all happen, and how does it happen all at once like this? But I mean, Tina Peters has been on my mind for the last couple of days. She's still in jail there, you know. There's still so many people that are in prison that don't deserve to be there. Well, we were down at Freedom Corner, man. I met this nice young woman who claims like her brother has been in that DC gulag for 8 years without a trial. Nobody knows this guy's name. She didn't stick around for more than 2 days to tell us the whole story about it. I interviewed her, but I can't remember which broadcast it was that I put it on. It was one of the early Freedom Corner things. But I mean, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that are in prison right now that should not be there, that haven't had due process, that have just been incriminated and just trampled by the system that they're in. Tina Peters, and then this doctor that just got his charges dropped. I mean, he was looking at 35 years in prison for giving people fake vaccination cards, you know, because he knew that the vaccine thing was deadly, and he wouldn't give his patients the vaccine cards, man. I hope they're through, Songkist. But at the same time, we're all getting to that age where more and more, we're all getting older, and people are passing away left and right, it just seems like, man. Yeah, within 2 months of each other. That's horrible. The Black Border Wall. What's that? I haven't heard that one yet. I think I heard Dilly talking about it today, but I don't. What did they do? They painted the border wall or something? And then was that to make it hotter so they can't climb it? I didn't get that story yet. I hope to get that by the end of the day, though, because I haven't really checked out any news today yet. But anyways, Carolyn Levitt with this press conference just ripping on the fake propaganda stuff got me thinking about stuff, and I'm just thinking this mainstream media propaganda is traumatizing to people. It has taken people who just believe what they've seen on TV all their lives. They could trust what they were being shown on TV. And what they didn't know, that it was slowly but surely being pulled away from truth and turning it more into a propaganda machine. And then we got Obama switching the Smith-Mundt Act in 2012. But then I started remembering the story when George Bush Sr. was president, in order to get us into the Kuwait War, was telling us about these babies that were taken out of the incubators and left on the floors to die. And that was like a main talking point that they used to get America behind the war effort to go into Kuwait. And this was the 1990s, man. So even before they legalized propaganda on the American people, they were doing it. They were propagandizing us. They were making up stories, just fabricating them out of thin air, and then bringing them to the American public. And now we find out that they're not true. You know, it's horrible, man. And this is traumatizing to people, and I don't like it one bit. And whether or not the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act makes it legal to propagandize people and lie to them and manipulate them, it doesn't matter. It is not good. It is uncool. It is immoral to do that to people on purpose. And whether we got a law that says you can do it or not, it's still illegal. It's still immoral and improper. Hi, Ann. And Metal is Joy. How are you? I haven't seen you in a while. It was great meeting you out at Bart's service there, Metal is Joy. Amen. Let's all wrap Sunkist up in some prayer here. And all the other patriots that need help. I mean, I'm in circumstances here. I can't complain, but man, things could be so much better. Sean's in the same boat. And all the people still in prison, still getting persecuted. that we have not been able to catch up yet with, man. I mean, we're changing it from the top down at the DOJ. It's going to take a while, like trickle down justice, until we get to all the small potatoes like me and you guys and these other people that are getting railroaded, man. The whole world's gone insane. That is what it feels like, but it's just they're hoodwinked. They've been psyoped and don't even know what a psyop is, basically. At least we got the wherewithal to understand what a psyop is, and that there are people evil enough to do that to other human beings, man. It's evil. It's a good versus evil paradigm, for sure. It isn't just a war in Ukraine, and it isn't just J6's stuff. This is down to the root core battle for your soul, because that's what the demons want. They want to make God out to be a liar. So let me just get on the points I wanted to talk about here. Professor David Clements has pretty much just started up a YouTube channel. And in my posts sections on this channel, I've got 2 posts up that will bring you to the first 2 episodes of his YouTube channel. And I'm finding them he's very well spoken. He's obviously writing this ahead of time, puts a lot of thought into what he's presenting in a 20-minute video. And he just put out episode 2 that I watched this morning, and I thought it was very good. Professor Clements was with us down at J6. He has sacrificed a lot to be there and to continue this battle that we are all in, and he is, I think, kind of rising to the forefront. I can see that, you know, some people are rising to the top of the whole battle thing, and I think we should pay attention to that and support Professor Clements on his channel there. So go to my posts section on my channel, and you'll find a link right there to go right to David Clements' black, and he calls it a black magic insurrection. So he's on board about what we're talking about, good versus evil. And he's making a call to suspend habeas corpus, just like Abraham Lincoln did. And he offers a really good argument about it. When you have these 2 elements, rebellion and invasion, those were the 2 aspects, 2 facts that Lincoln had as to why he was able to pull habeas corpus on pretty much the whole country at the time. Other presidents have done it in limited areas of the country, and that is what episode 2 is about. So watch that video, see what you think about it. That is kind of an alternative way that this whole thing could get solved, you know. We don't want a civil war here. I don't think we need a civil war. They want us to go to civil war because they love violence. The haters love violence, so they want us to get violent, but we're not going to be doing that, man. We don't get violent. We solve our problems in other ways. We wait for God to come solve the violence problems, because if we just become violent to fight against violence, we've just become the enemy, you know. And that's a crucial aspect where we cannot step over that line, where we become violent to end violence. And that's what war is. And the warmongers are always want us in a war. And that's how they make money. That's how they keep us fighting each other. And I think that era, that dynasty is coming to an end. And we're watching President Trump and his cabinet show excellent leadership, teach us how it's done, and how it moves forward. One of the cool things I think Trump is doing is he is opening up battlefronts that we just never saw happening, you know. And one of those aspects that he just recently opened up was the war on the Smithsonian Institute and how they portray this country in our museums that our tax money goes to facilitate, to keep in operation. Our money pays for the Smithsonian Institute to present these ideas to the American people, to the world, basically. And they are not friendly to the history of America. They're trying to portray us as a country that had an evil past, and we've done evil, wicked things to people in the past, and that they're not portraying us in a great light. So Trump has authorized a review of all the Smithsonian Institute's presentations in their museums and stuff. And I think that's a great idea. I got a meme about similar thing to that right here. Remember the Washington Redskins, man? When you're so woke that a Blackfeet chief drawn by a Blackfeet artist approved by the Blackfeet Nation is considered offensive to white people. This is it in a nutshell right here, you know, where these people who wanted to feign this outrage and say, you can't be called the Redskins because it's offensive. Well, it wasn't offensive to the Redskins, and they kind of liked it because it made them look like a fighting, you know, a football team, you know. They were a team, they were fighters on the gridiron and stuff. And that's it in a nutshell, man. They might have gotten a couple of Indians to come out and say, that's offensive. But it wasn't the Blackfeet artist who drew that, and it wasn't the Blackfeet Nation. And they were not mocking the Blackfeet chief. So I think that's basically it in a nutshell right there. And another thing that I think is coming, probably, is how when you guys go to national parks, I've toured national parks many, many times on cross-country road trips and stuff. I love our national parks, but every time you come to a mountain or a rock formation or something, there's some malarkey sign there telling you that millions and millions of years ago, this happened or that happened. I literally went to a mountain one time and the sign said, the wind blew this mountain here. And I looked at my girlfriend and I was like, oh, could you believe that? The wind blew this mountain here. Okay. And that was a sign. You know, we paid for the sign. And that was their theory, and they were sticking to it. And they have no idea how stupid that sounds to people that believe in God. You know, God made the mountain, obviously. Excuse me. Yeah, I saw that, Don Ray. The MSNBC is now removing the 3 letters, so it's now MS Now. Oh, that'll change everything, right? Oh, Sunkist. The post office box number I told you was wrong. It's 5211 is the post office box. And it is in my channel description. It's 5211. And I don't know. I'm probably gonna start I'm probably gonna get rid of that mailbox, because to tell you the truth, I'm not getting many donations there, and I'm just gonna do it as the Lord provides, basically. But my mailbox, P.O. box, is actually 5211. I'm so sorry about that, Sunkist. I'm a knucklehead, I know it. And I did tell you 5011, but it's 5211. Okay, Julius. Hey, Julius, praying for you too, man. Look what Julius is going through. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Texas passed the redistricting maps. Okay, that's great. I gotta feel this whole redistricting thing is a sideshow. I'm glad they passed it. But really, what they got to do is end mail-in voting, just like Trump is saying. And here's another front that Trump opened up, like, boom, out of nowhere. Trump brought it to the forefront like a week and a half ago, where we got to end mail-in voting and get rid of those machines in our voting places. There is a ton of evidence that was presented right after the 2020 election. They all got thrown out. No, Sonny, I'm not getting a Cash App either. I hate computers. I hate them so bad. I'm not doing any of that. I'm not going to go that route. So yeah, it will be what it will be, Sunkist. We'll make it happen. It's happening. And I just don't want to get any deeper into media, electronic, computers. I hate them. Someday I hope to throw them all away when we're all out of this. I'm just gonna do it however else I can do it, and that is how I'm doing it right now. I can use my phone for Cash App. I don't even want to try to figure that out, Trina. I know it's easy, but no, I don't want to do that. Jamie Crow is going to Somerset for the Flight 93 museum there on 9/11. All right, cool, Jamie. If any of you Patriots are out in that close to that area there, maybe you can meet her out there. That's pretty cool. It's something to see. One thing you're not going to see at that site is an airplane, because there never was an airplane at that site. Another lie that they made up and just showed us on TV, man. The hours after that crash, I was watching live footage of that site and there was no plane in sight. They claim they found an engine 2 miles away. All kinds of weird stuff about 9/11, folks. If you haven't, get on board. It's all coming out. It's all coming out. Building 7, 2 planes took 3 buildings down in New York City. Do you guys know that? I know you know that because I've told you that many times. I went to the 9/11 in Somerset Museum there. There was no airplane. It was all emotions. It was, sorry to rain on your parade there, Jamie. It is something to see, because they spent millions and millions of dollars building that thing, but and it's all part of an emotional psyop. So be careful. Put your armor of God on before you go there. Okay, so it's pretty random. All these talking points I got that have come up in the last couple of days, man. So I'll just start hitting them off from the top, man. You guys remember when they put a $5 million bounty on the head of Barbecue down in Haiti? All right, so now because they want to bring him here and charge him for crimes against humanity and stuff, now there's a $50 million bounty on the head of Venezuela's President Maduro. They want to bring him here and charge him for running a cartel down there. Maduro, the president of Venezuela, is in charge of the biggest criminal cartel, we think, on the planet right now. So now there's a $50 million bounty. Now, you think the National Guard's in D.C. just to take down a couple homeless tents? I don't think so, because we got that going on. Let's see, the House is bringing in a bunch of people. They've subpoenaed Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and a bunch of the higher up people from to question them about the Epstein files. Okay, so here's what Congress is working on. Congress is working on the Epstein files, okay? And I don't know, the last couple of weeks, they tried to get us to hate Trump because he wouldn't release the Epstein files. And he tries to release them, and a judge blocks it. And now they had a subpoena out for Mueller, the guy who ran the 2-year Mueller investigation. But they have withdrawn that subpoena because his health is in bad shape. So if you commit treason against the United States and you get to a certain point where you're just too old and feeble to go through a trial, just know you got away with everything, because the same thing happened to Joe Biden with the Her investigation, where They just let him go. He was too incompetent to stand trial. Well, that's what they're making that. They're deeming Mueller too incompetent to stand being questioned by Congress. So he's been taken off the list. And I heard that Bill Barr has already come in and been questioned. It's all behind closed doors. They're not going to tell us what. We're not going to get any information because we're dealing with Congress, and they are part of the problem. Definitely part of the problem here. We're not going to get to the bottom of anything by having these hearings. We're going to get to the bottom of everything by having grand juries and trials and things like that. Let's just take a moment and pause and understand that Trump is the undisputed leader of the free world. And after everything the mainstream media has done to this man over the course of the last 6 years, since he became president, or actually the last, we should say more like 9 years, because his whole first term, they were on him. His whole second term, they stole the election from him, tried to prosecute him, tried to kill him. And he is still standing, and now he's got world leaders lining up at the drop of a hat. Within 48 hours of a phone call, they're showing up at the White House. So I think he's the undisputed leader of the free world, man. Has anybody ever done that before? I don't think so. He's got Putin. When Trump calls Putin, it doesn't matter if he's sleeping or not. He answers the phone, right? And now he's got the whole EU coming in, and he's talking to Zelensky, and he's talking to Putin, and that's how this thing is getting resolved. This was how it wasn't getting resolved with FJB. He wasn't calling Putin. He wasn't talking to people to try to figure a solution out. He was just trying to figure out how to sell more arms to there, how to get more tax money to go to fund the whole Ukrainian government while they were, getting nuked by Russia, And I think it's going to end up being somewhat of a Ukrainian surrender, man. And the deep state, that's their grift, man. That's where they were making billions of dollars. And they're not going to go quietly. Something's going to happen. There will be trouble ahead. And it's going to be not so nice. Not so nice. Last Friday, Trump met with Putin. And I think most of us saw that up in Alaska. But I just want to, remember that B-2 flyover that while Trump and Putin, after they shook hands, are walking down that aisle up to the stage right before, so that everybody could take a picture. A B-2 bomber flies over with 4 escort jets. And how in the world do you time that, okay? How do you make that happen, that exactly right after they're done shaking hands, in the amount of time it took to walk from there to that stage, had to have only been 20 seconds, 30 seconds, to have a B-2, escorted B-2 fly right over their heads at that exact time. I don't know how they timed that, And it was either the work of God, or somehow, they had an earpiece in Trump's ear, and they were going, no, shake his hand for 10 seconds. Don't just shake, hand. Somehow or another, they orchestrated that whole thing. And that will forever be one of the great clips of history, with B-2 bomber flying over Putin's head while Trump and Putin were walking down that aisle up to the front stage, man. It was quite the incredible thing. Nothing scares the deep state more than peace talks and fair elections, and all of that. When we started talking about fair elections in 2020, they shut us up. Then when we all when everybody stood at J6 they wanted that election reviewed, and then our Congress wouldn't even take 10 days to review that, man. They wouldn't even take 10 days to review that. Our elected officials were telling us how it goes. It wasn't like we, the people, tell them what to do. They were telling us what they were going to do for us. And that was a big no-no, man. But look what we paid. Look how much 1,600 J6ers got rung through the ringer on that. Totally a reversal of how government is supposed to work in there, man. That's because nothing scares them more than peace talks and fair elections. And that's what we were all about, fair elections, man. Peace will be their undoing. With peace, they don't make their money. With peace, they don't get to do their little wars and put their puppets in charge of countries and manipulate people and monopolize businesses and stuff. With fair elections, it removes them from power. Those are the two scariest things. That's garlic and a silver bullet to the deep state right there. It kills them. And that's what we're all about, and that's what Trump is laser focused on right now. I'd like to have Trump right back in America dealing with America first policies and stuff, but he's got to settle up Joe Biden's war in Ukraine. He's got all these other wars that he has smoothed over somehow, and I would like to have him back here. You know, he's taken a lot of time. He's investing political capital in solving these wars worldwide, you know, and in the meantime, becoming the undisputed leader of the free world. Basic as that, man. And that's because we have all been taught this ever since I've been born. We've been taught this Axis and Allies paradigm. You know, they're either our friends or they're not, right? With World War II, we had the Axis and the Allies. We had Hitler, and he had Italy and Japan and all that. And then the Allies was us and Russia and Britain and Canada and all the free countries of the world. We're taught this paradigm like that, but I don't think it's that simple. I think it's more basic. It might be simpler than that, actually, where it's just good and evil, man. Do you believe that everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Then how can you support war, you know? But these demons, they think that war needs to happen to keep order in the world. But in the meantime, what they're not saying is that they're making a lot of money off of this, and the money ends if the wars end. So that's it. So what we're watching is the Ark of the Peacemakers, and they are sovereign nations that are uniting for peace. And I think this is a good thing. It's similar to what NATO is. NATO is an organization. They are sovereign nations that are coming together, but it has been captured and used for bad things, you know, and they've been trying to get Ukraine to be a member of that. Small water guy, look who's here, Mr. Missouri. Missouri's got some news here. Garlic is tasty, and you need more silver. Well, you're not a vampire then, Smalley. How about that? You're one of the good ones, man. That's why we're friends with you. But the Attorney General of Missouri just resigned, and he has been hired as the co-deputy director of the FBI, which is the position Dan Bongino has. Dan Bongino is currently the deputy director of the FBI. Well, now there's two. Now we got Andrew Bailey, the Attorney General for Missouri, is now the co-deputy director of the FBI. So now we got two at the top. And that can mean two things. That might mean that Dan Bongino is not doing so well and he's going to get replaced. And there's a lot of people out there saying that right now, but I'm not buying it. I'm buying the fact that there is so much prosecutions that are about to happen that they need two. They might need three co-directors at the FBI right now because there is so much garbage that has to get cleaned up in D.C. It's going to take a massive team in those departments, in the FBI and the DOJ and the Department of Homeland Security and all these other entities, man. In the meantime, in Alaska, Melania wrote a letter to President Putin, and it was a heartfelt letter, man. It was a great letter that he wrote to her about it is time. It's time to make peace in the world. And I don't think that Putin is one of them guys that makes a lot of money off of war. So that's how I believe that they have gotten these free countries on board. And it does seem like the BRICS nations might, I don't know. Are we going to end up joining the BRICS nations? And that has to do with all that dollar stuff. And I just don't understand all that stuff. But it seems like the BRICS nations, they want to be able to trade with each other using their own currency. They don't want to have to convert everything into US dollars in order to do trade amongst their countries, right? But where do the US dollars come from? It isn't our money, it's the Federal Reserve's money. And I don't know. I just think the way we're going about this, the direction we're headed is we're going to be getting rid of the Federal Reserve at some time. And we're going to try to get a value-based currency somehow in this country. At the same time, the whole Bitcoin, e-money thing is happening. I don't understand any of that. Don't take any advice from me on that topic, though, man. Wow, 5-star angel. Yeah, they're everywhere. They will slander you. They will call you names. Then they'll body shame you, and then they'll just start making up lies about you. Right. Unbelievable 5-star. We've been dealing with that for a long time, though, too. All right, Trina's got the Bill Blaster link in there. Definitely use it to call your officials and tell them that you want them to get on board with Trump demanding that we have paper ballots and get rid of the machines by the 2026 election, not the 2028. By 2026, we want to get rid of these things. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is have 50 states make changes in their election laws. So Trump and the federal government is going to have to make some type of a universal requirement for elections, for you to submit your elections into these for your votes to be valid, that you're going to have to fit certain requirements. And there are certain requirements. And one of them is that you're going to have to show ID and all that. Now, whether or not we have time to do the new census or not by 2026 is doubtful. But we can demand and change the law to paper ballots and get rid of the machines. But that's got to be done almost immediately. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is onto that with her Make American Elections Great Again. But Marjorie Taylor Greene's got this to say about that. Congress goes back in session on September 2nd after being out on district work period for 5 weeks. We are constitutionally required to fund the government by September 30th. There are 12 appropriation bills that fund the government. The House has passed 2 out of the 12 appropriation bills. The Senate has passed 3 out of the 12 appropriation bills. The House is only scheduled to be in session 15 days in September. That is 15 days to pass 10 more appropriation bills. It took us 7 months to pass 2 appropriation bills. I'll let you do the math, and I'm just giving you an idea of what September looks like in Congress. So do you think Congress is going to do anything about a Make American Elections Great Again Act? I don't think so. They're going to wave their arms around and go, oh, we got to save the budget. We got to do the appropriations bills. We got to do the continuing resolution for the budget, or the government's going to shut down, man. Right, Julius, they've done this for years, and this is my problem with Congress, man. They've got to go. We need new people in Congress. They got to start getting real. They got to start getting real there, man. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, once again, the truth teller of Congress here. I think he's gonna. Trump has to lead the way on this one. Wow, there's a lot going on there, man. Small Water guy says, unfortunately, I think the loss of Andrew Bailey in Missouri sucks. Their governor is a rhino, and I'm not confident with the person he appointed. Okay, we'll keep an eye on that, man. And Five Star Angel is dealing with billboards where she lives. Wow, now they're censorshiping signs there. Holy smokes, Five Star Angel. What's going on? So I don't put a whole lot of confidence in Congress at all. They are not the solution to our problems. If they were, we wouldn't have these problems already. They would have solved the problems. But no, they facilitate, they nurture, they create these problems, man. MTG's also, hey, Jay Jones, also with the Clear Sky Act to end weather modification. So all these important things, but they use their time to pass appropriations. They split the whole bill into 15 different appropriations that each one has to be argued about. And then they still vote by saying aye. They read off everybody's name and vote. It would take 30 seconds to vote electronically in the Congress, but they don't do that. I don't know why. Well, they do know why, so they never get anything done. That's why. Congress is a complete mess, man. Complete mess. We've had, in the last week, 70,000 Cambodian monks got together and endorsed Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize with the president of Cambodia. So there's a big push to get Trump the Nobel Peace Prize, and it would be great. That would be great recognition, but the Nobel Peace Prize was given to Barack Obama, a total warmonger, a total liar, a total propagandist for his country, and he got that award. I think that award has lost all respectability, just like the Pulitzer Prize has lost all respectability. Trump is suing the Pulitzer Prize Board over the Russian collusion hoax. They awarded the Pulitzer Prizes, which is for journalism, to the Washington Post and the New York Times for reporting that they did on the Russia hoax, which is total abomination of the Pulitzer Prize. The Pulitzer Prize is supposed to merit the truth of journalism, people who got down to the bottom of truth and stuff and wrote about it and did well with it. But all it's become is a Democrat trophy for other Democrats, basically. I wouldn't take a Pulitzer Prize if you gave it to me, or a Nobel Peace Prize, because they're worthless now. They have they have dragged the names of those two institutions through the mud. They are meaningless at this point. So all I do is take note of any story about those things and ignore the rest of it, because that has nothing to do with anything with running this country right now. It's just more chaos that they can potentially throw to obstruct any progress that American First and MAGA can have right now. Melania wrote that letter to Putin, and now I'm hearing that Putin gave her some type of a Romanov emerald or something like that. I'm still getting the truth of this story. I don't know if any of you guys have heard that yet. But apparently Melania is a descendant of the Romanovs, who were Christians in early Russian history, who were taken out and killed when they took over Russia, when the communists took over Russia, man. Right on, I got the Small Water Prize. Thanks, dude. So yeah, this Romanov emerald is just this morning was the first time I ever saw it, and apparently it was a gift that Putin is giving in return to Melania, and which is cool. That's a definite class act, I would think, if Putin did do something like that, or is going to do something like that, man. There has been another Trump assassination attempt. 2 more people have been arrested now for, one of them actually drove to D.C. and made posts that they were going to kill President Trump. And then another guy made posts that said he was going to put a bullet between his eyes and all that. So these people, I don't know if they're MK Ultra subjects that are getting activated out there, but Trump is not out of the woods yet with that stuff. There's still nut jobs out there that want to kill Trump. They think that's the answer to everything. Just kill him, right? That doesn't make any sense. I also heard that Mayor Bowser of Washington, D.C. just took a trip to Martha's Vineyard in the middle of all this stuff that's happening in D.C. with the federal takeover, which is kind of malarkey. Basically, the police force deputized all the National Guardsmen to help them patrol the city because they couldn't do it themselves. In the middle of all this, she takes a trip to Martha's Vineyard, and guess who lives in Martha's Vineyard? You know, the couple with the dead cook, right? They live in Martha's Vineyard. So let's see what happens with Mayor Bowser once she gets her marching orders and returns back to D.C. That'd be something to watch out for. She is no doubt meeting right now with Barack Obama. There has been, and I briefly mentioned this in the last video we did, the federal courts were hacked and the PACER systems were breached, and they got a lot of information about sealed indictments and witnesses and things like that. So maybe that's why the National Guard is in D.C. also right now. A lot of things are happening that the mainstream media doesn't even want to tell you about because they want you just to hate Trump, basically. A drunken assistant attorney general suspended. Those arrests are happening all over the place, man. Democrats are just not very bright people. They got one guy stuffing ballots in a box right on camera. And they're crooked. They're crooked all the way. No, MK Ultra is not an adult beverage, small water guy. Another victory that Trump just was able to announce in the last week was that 275 illegals were taken off of Social Security rolls. But for 5 years now, the Democrats and the mainstream media has been telling us there are no illegals collecting benefits at the Social Security offices, insisting on that, just lying to us over and over and over again about that, right? Crazy stuff, man. Here we are, August 2025. Tulsi Gabbard's also stripped 37 people of their security clearances. A lot of these people, I didn't know any of their names, but there's 37 more people that don't get the daily classic security briefings from whoever gives those things out. If it's such a secret, why, I don't think there should be these secrets, but some people say, well, there has to be these secrets. Well, I don't buy that, but that's the way it is. Well, now there's 37 less of them getting it. And it's people that were like attorneys for other people and things like that. Right on, Jay. Tulsi is draining that swamp. She is draining that swamp. That is for sure. Here's another little topic here. We got Ron DeSantis. He's having so much fun with Alligator Alcatraz that he wants to build another one called the Deportation Depot as a second migrant facility to help out Tom Homan and the Border Patrol and ICE get rid of these people in our country. Let's talk about one of these mainstream media creeps for a minute here. Hi, I'm Anderson Cooper. I'm a direct descendant and heir to the Vanderbilts, the second wealthiest family in American history. Before I became the face of CNN, I was in a secret society at Yale University called the Manuscript Society. While at Yale, I worked for the CIA and became a participant in Operation Mockingbird. That's the operation where the press lies to us. Now, I spread disinformation through the mainstream media to manipulate the thoughts and beliefs of the public to further the CIA's agenda. What? Tell your mom or dad that, and they'll go, what are you talking about? Have you lost your ever-loving mind? You're telling me that Anderson Cooper is a CIA plant? And that's when you go, no, wait a second, it gets deeper. Because remember when Anderson Cooper released those pictures from his childhood? And him and his mom are sitting under a depiction of Jesus being burned in a sacrifice to Moloch? I mean, Anderson Cooper was trying to relate to people. And, you know, I'm a normal guy. Hey, look, my mom used to read me stories and stuff when we're in bed. But here's a picture of his bed. And what's that hanging over the headboard of his bed in his bedroom as a little boy? One of them boys is Anderson Cooper right there. And he, you know, every night on when he goes to sleep, he's looking at this weird picture, man. Yeah, devil worshiper. One of the minions. Just like it's becoming pretty obvious most of the elite people are. Story after story after story coming out about that kind of stuff. Yeah, story after story about these people. They have you fighting each other instead of the system that enslaves you. We're just like pets. We'd make great pets. These people are sick, but at least we can see it now. Metal is joy, right? And yes, Donald Trump was right. These people are sick. They are enemies of humanity. Whether or not they're actually human or not remains to be seen. That's a whole nother wormhole of potential people thinking you're crazy, man. But we can see that, right? We can see that. That's a gift from God. And then every once in a while, when you're out in a crowd, when you spot another person who is awake and aware, I see you. You know, don't you? You see them out there. We probably are controlled by lizards, small water guy. Probably are. I don't know if they're lizards or demons or... I don't know. Maybe they're like these eels with teeth or something, you know? No information, misinformation, disinformation, and all we got is our Savior guiding us through everything, every moment of every day, keeping our feet pointed in the right direction to stay on the path of righteousness. Maybe it's guys from outer space. Right, Barbara? Right on. Carol Burton, it was cool seeing you. I don't know who put the video out, if it was Charlene or English Rose, but that was really cool seeing you down there with them, Carol. Patriots all down there in Southeast America, Southeast United States, hanging out. We're like family. Here are the faces of Trump derangement syndrome. What a motley group of people this is, isn't it? Who is their leader right now, though? You got to admit that they are in chaos. And I don't think they're just faking it. I think they really are in chaos. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Carol. You could post a link. I don't see why not, man. I like promoting all other Patriots channels, man. And English Rose is a definite patriot, a notorious patriot. Hey, Kara. Yeah, maybe those glasses are squishing their brains there, Deb by. Oh, man, that's funny, man. Yeah, Dolan. Right? They all kind of look the same, don't they? Oh, what else happened this week? Oh, this week was another one where Comey got up and said something about how Taylor Swift keeps him centered or something like that while he's fighting Donald Trump. And that's just creepy. That's just creepy. I mean, Comey's not a child. But here, one PSYOP is using another PSYOP to verify his PSYOP. You see how that works? We got the Taylor Swift PSYOP, and then Comey comes in and says, that PSYOP helps me deal with things, while he's throwing a new PSYOP on us. That's how they work. That's how Anderson Cooper weaves it, man. They weave it all together just to manipulate your grandma so she votes Democrat. Here we got Gavin Newsom on the stand. Show me on the doll where the memes hurt you. Right here in my mangina. I hope none of you are going to have to explain to your children what a mangina is. Sorry about that. Let's see here. I got a bunch of really cool shots of the summit meeting here that Trump did. And I just thought it was really interesting, man. Trump's sitting at the Resolute desk, and he's got the world leaders of Europe sitting before him like a bunch of school children, schooling them on how things are going to roll here. And here's a picture of them all standing up in a different spot. I'm not sure if this photo was altered or not. I have heard that Zelensky is kind of short, and it's hard to tell on TV, you know, how big they are. But you never can tell now with AI and Grok photos and stuff, man. Hello, LA Forgiven. Good to see you in here. We're still standing, we're still fighting. One of that group from the EU that I really like is Meloni, the president of, or prime minister of Italy. I think she knows what's going on. She has to deal with these people. And man, did you see her rolling her eyes when the prime minister of Germany was speaking? Oh my God, I just imagine the torture she has to put herself through to deal with these people. She was just on fire making making faces and rolling her eyes and just staring at the ceiling. And it was pretty cool watching her throughout that meeting when they were all sitting at the table together. Sorry, Donna Ray, that was a little bit X-rated, sorry. There's one more shot of that. This is when Meloni was rolling her eyes and stuff. Meloni was sitting to Trump's left there. But in the background, you can see here, we got Vance, Rubio, Bessent, Hegseth, and Susie Wiles sitting there on the sofa behind all these guys watching how it's done. So those are 4 candidates for future leadership in this country. Unlike the Democrats, we have people in the pipeline ready to go. Should Trump need to not run for 2028, or, you know, I would love to see Trump take a vacation, but I doubt he will, you know. And I thought it was AI generated, and then I saw this photo of them. So I don't know. I think he really is that short, man. I was reading these ancient texts and stuff, and I heard like Pharaoh back in the days when they were building the pyramids, that Pharaoh was actually a midget. So maybe it's true. Maybe he is actually a midget, man. Yeah, Sunkiss, that is a smart cabinet right there. That little weasel. Oh, you guys are hilarious. And just so you know, it's against the law in all 50 states to practice medicine without a license. This bitch has no physician's license and no right to be out here giving us unsolicited medical advice. Yet, that's what mainstream media allowed him to do. That's a young Bill Gates right there. Oh yeah, Deb Vi, did you see a guy in the UK was arrested for saying, "We love bacon," but that offends the Muslims? Well, that's where we don't want to go here in this country, right? Right, Deb Vi? But that's where they are there. They're going through that right now. And their government is not releasing or representing the people there. Right on, ACB. At least he wore kind of a suit. He went for that Johnny Cash look, the all man in black, you know, which I don't know. But they made a big deal of it. Wow, Zelensky put a suit on. He's so respectful now. So respectful. Here's a post from Kid Rock. Do you remember when we didn't have $5 billion to build the wall? Yeah, I remember that. Yet now we have $700 billion to give to other countries. In case you haven't figured it out, this is money laundering 101. Exactly. You guys remember that? Trump wanted $5 billion to build the wall in 2017, right when he got elected. That was the one thing he ran on, and they just put the brakes on that and ran him through the Mueller investigation and ran him through the impeachments. This is what that's what Congress works on. How to just make our lives miserable, man. All working in conjunction with the WEF, wrecking everyone's future. I forget what this one is. Oh, wait a minute. Well, I didn't mean to. I just thought that was funny. I hope none of you were ever in that scenario. That position. It's very uncomfortable. Here's what stage 5 Trump derangement syndrome looks like. It's not pretty, folks. It's not pretty. This is Sean Penn. So when I was a kid, Sean Penn was the cool guy in the movies, you know. He was Spicoli on Fast Times at Ridgemont High movie. And we all thought, Spicoli, he was the cool guy. Well, look who he really was, who he really turns out to. And then if you ever go watch that movie now that you're 30 or 40 years older, you realize it was a big commercial for abortions. I don't even remember that part of that movie, but when we watched it back again and a couple of years ago, and I was like so offended. It was a whole movie about the guy got his girlfriend pregnant and they were talking about getting an abortion. And I think they actually did get an abortion. So it was a big propaganda commercial for abortions. Okay, if any of you guys are thinking about getting a new Tesla robot, the new John Deere Tesla robot is hitting the markets right now. Can trim your bushes, can mow the lawn. Colorado, don't bother watching that movie. It's horrible. De Niro's brother. No, that was Sean Penn, dead by. Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to have one of them, Jay? What else? I got one other thing. I can't remember what this was, though. Let me just put it up and read it. I remember there was something poignant in here about something. This ties directly to the broader theme threading through the Peacemaker's arc. The collective Western mind is being gently, inexorably primed for the revelation that the globalist hegemon has subsisted on war making as its lifeblood. True statement. Perpetual conflicts to feed the military-industrial beast from the jungles of Vietnam to the deserts of Iraq and now to steppes of Ukraine. So this is it. They need this war, this perpetual conflicts. And they did it in Vietnam. We can all see that now, right? They did it in Iraq. We can all see weapons of mass destruction was a total psyop. It wasn't true. The babies taken out of incubators was totally made up story. Proven now that was a made up story. That the girl that came and testified in front of Congress was actually the daughter of like the ambassador's lawyer or something. Crazy like that. So Trump's tariffs imposing economic pressure from afar and Putin's methodical attrition, bleeding resources on the ground, are twin pinchers squeezing the life from this empire of endless wars. So here's how I can see Trump and Putin are working in together. They're both doing different things. Putin is bleeding them with this war going on. I mean, look at the hundreds of billions that this war is costing them over there, that they're losing. And he's bleeding them dry. And at the same time, Trump's hitting them from the other angle with our peace through strength ideas, that if you want to continue doing trade, Trump just explained himself how he ended the Pakistan India conflict by saying, I'm not going to do business with you. We're not going to make an agreement while you two are fighting. So they both put down their guns and said, okay, we want to do trade with you. Trade to them is more important. They hit him in the wallet where it hurts them, right? Okay, I'm looking through everything I had scheduled to bring up here, and I think we've done it, Patriots. I think we went through it all. So that was a midweek, man. Usually it takes all week to get that much of stuff to put together for a show, and still we're over an hour. Holy smokes, man. One of these days we'll get this down. I don't know. I much prefer like 4-minute videos. Those are the ones I watch. Or 20 minutes max. But these hour-long streams are just, I don't know. But that's the rut I'm in. We're going to keep going with it. I'm not going to stop. I don't know, Colorado. Start thinking about stuff. Putin has kept the New World Order out of Russia. And there are other countries that have kept the New World Order out of their countries. And they are traditionally the countries that we are taught to hate. And I don't know. Just makes me think there, Colorado. If we can make peace by becoming friends with Russia, I think it would be a great thing. I think if United States and Russia teamed up and became a unified force in the world, we would, first of all, we would cover the whole northern hemisphere of the planet. Our resources are... wouldn't need anything from anybody else. I think Russia can subsist. They don't need anything from anybody. America doesn't, or USA doesn't need anything from anybody. We have our own natural resources. And, well, yeah, I wouldn't agree about that with North Korea. Well, North Korea's kept them out too. But I don't know. Just thinking out loud here, Colorado. I want peace. I want the killing to stop. I would like my children and grandchildren to have a good future in this country, man. Yeah, isn't it great hooking up with the family here, Jay? It's awesome. It's so cool. I'm going to play out this Carolyn Levitt news conference from yesterday. I don't think there was anything in the White House today. From Carolyn Levitt. So if you haven't seen this, I recommend you check it out or just stick around and we'll play it here. We'll close it out with this. It's a 9-minute, or I don't know how long it is. It's, I think it's like 15 minutes long here. And then definitely go check out Professor Clement's new channel there from my posts in my post section on the channel, man. I got a link to that there. Professor Clements is, I think, just voicing some ideas in a sensible manner. He's a very intelligent guy. He's been with us in the trenches forever. And I can trust this guy's judgment on a lot of things. And what he is saying is shocking, but this might be the route we got to go to get our country back on track. And that is the suspension of habeas corpus. So give Clements a view, subscribe to his channel, and share it out. I think it's that important. So God bless you, Patriots. We'll play this out, and I will see you probably next weekend or so.
Let's go to Carolyn Levitt in the meantime.
Good afternoon. How are you? Good to see all of you. What we've witnessed President Trump accomplish over the last few days has been nothing short of remarkable. We are now 3.5 years into the war between Russia and Ukraine, a brutal conflict that has claimed hundreds of thousands of Russian and Ukrainian lives and cost trillions of dollars. The weakness and incompetence of Joe Biden foolishly allowed the killing to start in the first place. Until President Trump returned to office in January, the bloody and broken Biden status quo was to endlessly force American taxpayers to fund Ukraine no matter the cost, no matter how long it takes, and no matter how many lives were lost. There is no denying that Biden's America Last foreign policy moved the world further away from peace. President Trump rejected that failed approach and instead, over the last 7 months, has relentlessly pursued peace throughout his second term. And thanks to President Trump's efforts, we finally have movement after years of deadly gridlock. On Friday, as you all know, many of you were there, President Trump hosted Russian President Vladimir Putin in Anchorage, Alaska for a bilateral meeting. This was the first time President Putin has been to the United States since 2015, and the first time he has met with an American president in years. President Putin publicly confirmed what President Trump has said all along. The war between Russia and Ukraine never would have started in the first place if President Trump were in office. This was always obvious to any person with a shred of common sense. Just look at what took place during the last 4 administrations. Under George W. Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under Barack Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under Joe Biden, Russia invaded Ukraine. But under President Trump, Russia did not invade nor take anything. President Trump is the only president this century, Republican or Democrat, who has held Russia in check and ensured peace in Europe. That's because Russia has always greatly respected President Trump and his peace through strength foreign policy approach. But overall, the bilateral talks in Alaska were very productive, and multiple key points were agreed to between the two leaders that truly opened up the door for Phase 2 discussions, which took place yesterday here at the White House, within 48 hours of that meeting in Anchorage, I may add. As you all know, there were many European leaders here, as well as Ukrainian President Zelensky. They all traveled here to meet with President Trump to maintain the momentum and work toward a lasting peace. Across the board, every leader credited President Trump for his decisive leadership that has reignited the dialogue in hopes of finally bringing this war to a peaceful conclusion. 2 quotes in particular capture the progress that was made and the optimism moving forward. Finnish President Alexander Stubb said, "I think in the past 2 weeks, we've probably had more progress in ending this war than we have had in the past 3.5 years. Again, that is the president of Finland, a country that shares a border with Russia. That's what we call the President Trump effect. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte also summed it up well. Without President Trump, this deadlock with Putin would not have been broken. He is the only one who could do this. Following the encouraging conversations yesterday, President Trump spoke with President Putin by phone, and he agreed to begin the next phase of the peace process, a meeting between President Putin and President Zelensky, which would be followed, if necessary, by a trilateral meeting between President Putin, President Zelensky, and President Trump. As the president said, Vice President Vance, Secretary Rubio, and Special Envoy Witkoff will continue to coordinate with Russia and Ukraine to make this happen as soon as possible. It's very important to remember that before President Trump's landslide victory last November, there was no end in sight to this bloodshed. Now there may finally be light at the end of the tunnel and an opportunity for lasting peace. That's because President Trump is the peace president, and American leadership is back on the world stage. It should not be lost on anyone in this room that world leaders are coming right here to Washington, D.C. for help. While previous presidents have traveled halfway around the world to apologize for America, President Trump stands up for America, and he has firmly restored America's status as the undisputed leader of the free world. However, one thing that has absolutely not changed is the media's negative and downright false coverage of President Trump and his foreign policy accomplishments. From the beginning of this entire process, much of the left-wing media has been actively rooting against the President of the United States in the pursuit of peace. Initially, the media ridiculously claimed that President Trump was somehow beholden to Russia for even agreeing to have a face-to-face discussion with President Putin inside of the United States. The media said President Trump was making a grave mistake by, quote, legitimizing Putin. They were aghast that President Trump would treat another world leader like a world leader. The media relentlessly attacked President Trump and claimed he suffered a, quote, major defeat for not immediately emerging with a final agreement, even though he said heading into that meeting, this was a meeting to listen and to understand how to move the ball forward. All weekend following those historic U.S.-Russia bilateral talks, we listened to clueless pundits on television trying but failing to claim that the president had failed.
$5 a day invested for 1 year, and you could have $1,900. $5 a day.
The so-called experts in the foreign policy establishment, whose record is nothing but endless wars, trillions of wasted taxpayer dollars, and dead Americans, have the nerve to try and lecture President Trump, who has solved 7 global conflicts in 7 months, about peace. This is the same president, by the way, who brokered the Abraham Accords in his first term, on top of more than half a dozen other peace deals this year alone, as I just said. We also saw yesterday the president of Ukraine and all of the other major leaders of Europe fly across the Atlantic Ocean to meet President Trump at the White House because of the progress that was made, and that, if you ask the media, failed meeting, but it was not. It was highly productive and it was successful. This is why Americans' trust in the mass media is at a lowest point in more than 5 decades. Diplomacy is a delicate process, and instead of reporting the facts about what is happening here at this White House and what is happening between this president and other leaders around the world, many outlets in this room continue to try to actively undermine the president and sabotage the efforts towards peace. That is why I felt the need to set the record straight. In other news, on the home front, President Trump's efforts to make D.C. safe again are working. There have been a total of 465 arrests since the start of this operation on Thursday, August 7th. Last night, there were a total of 52 arrests, including the arrest of an illegal alien MS-13 gang member with convictions for DWI and drug possession. Thanks to President Trump's leadership and the outstanding work of both federal and local law enforcement, dangerous gang members like the one picked up last night will not be allowed on the streets of our nation's capital. Other arrests last night included assault with a deadly weapon for stabbing, parole violation for robbery, murder, outstanding warrant for attempted murder, assault on federal law enforcement officer, and felony assault. 4 more homeless encampments were also removed during yesterday's reporting period. To date, a total of 48 homeless encampments have been cleared in Washington, D.C. by multi-agency teams. MPD patrol units are actively working with city officials to locate and clear additional encampments and remove homeless residents off of Washington's streets. And despite fake narratives from the media, again, a significant number of the arrests have been in high crime areas of D.C. In fact, nearly half of all of the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in wards 7 and 8, the 2 wards that have the highest number of violent crime, as well as homicides and assaults with dangerous weapons last year. So while Democrats continue to coddle violent criminals, President Trump and this administration are focused on putting them behind bars and unapologetically standing up for the safety of law-abiding American citizens. And the White House will continue to provide all of you with the results of this operation in the days ahead. So with that, I will take your questions today. Here in our new media seat today, we have Jack Posobiec, who joined us in Anchorage, Alaska last week. Jack, thanks for being here. Why don't you kick us off?